and welcome to another episode of Tech Talks, the People and Planet podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Alexandra, Chief Diversity Officer and co-founder of Aivy. So Aivy plays a really pivotal role in helping companies rethink their hiring processes. Its innovative approach allows applicants to showcase their strengths early on and challenge really the conventional reliance on CVs. So join us as we explore the potential future of hiring and the strategies to really drive that positive change within the workplace. Alexandra, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Hello. Cool. So I guess just to really kind of sort of kick things off, I wondered maybe if you could tell us a bit more and how it actually helps companies in their hiring process, particularly in terms of, I know we've kind of sort of discussed it off screen on previous calls. That element, that functionality of showcasing applicants' strengths before the interview process actually begins.
Yes, happily. So Ivy makes individual strengths visible to help companies create objective hiring processes. And how we do that is that we use psychological aptitude diagnostics, which is very widely used already to assess personality, cognitive abilities, cultural fit, all of these things that we can't see in a CV or any other application documents. And we make them visible with our game-based assessments. And we use gamification to make the results more valid. And of course, it saves time and it makes the whole thing more enjoyable and more cool as well, innovative. Yeah. And through that, companies can see who really fits their job requirements at first sight.
Cool. No, that's really, really interesting. And thanks for that insight. So how does the kind of sort of dashboard work then, and how does that kind of enable companies to understand the strengths of applicants and align them with specific job requirements, for example?
Mm-hmm. Ivy works in 3 steps. So in the first step, we see what the job requirements are at a specific open position. And we get this information through a 10-minute questionnaire that at least 3 people in the company should answer, so we can have a more objective image of that position. And in the second step, the candidates would be assessed, classically just being invited via email, and companies can also adjust their assessment battery to their job requirements, so it can take from 10 to 20, maybe a maximum of 30 minutes for the candidates to go through our assessments. And already in those assessments, they will see their results, they will get some self-reflection, and then in the third step, we can match the assessment results with the job requirements, and that's where HR can get their information.
Interesting. Cool. So, I know that, certainly in your role as a kind of sort of a chief diversity officer, there's obviously a focus on, implementing D&I initiatives at Ivy. So I wondered if maybe you could sort of share some potential strategies or practices that, maybe have had particular success or been, effective in promoting diversity inclusion within the workforce at Ivy. I know it's a hot topic and seems to keep gathering pace at the moment. So yeah, for people listening, I'm sure they'd be interested to know what's working for you at the moment.
Yes, happily. So also, if we stay with the 3 steps, maybe that can be easy to follow. To enhance diversity in your HR process, you can always start at the first step, which is the job offer that you put out. And oftentimes, these contain endless lists of what a candidate should offer, or what they should definitely bring to the table, or the qualifications, right? And often this is the first step where we lose candidates. So because of several, we all know the study that people who don't experience this marginalization tend to overestimate their qualifications sometimes. So here already, take a close look at the list that you put out, and do you really need all of it, or can you maybe put in something like we're open to your strengths as well, things like that. And then through looking through the applications, also have some space for maybe an application you haven't seen before, or someone you haven't ever invited before. And with Ivy, since we give this information to you that you can't derive from a CV, we help actually take candidates out of the boxes that we unconsciously put them in when we assess application documents. So this can already help. And the reviews from our customers, or the feedback that actually warms my heart every time, is when they tell us that they invited people that they would have never invited if it weren't for the strength profile that they got from us. And then if they hire them, that they are this great addition to the team, because actually within Ivy you can also see how their strengths add to the team's strength that you are trying to put them in.
Wow. So do you have like, and this is just, I guess, a little bit of a follow-up question on that, just of what you mentioned there. So is there kind of like and again, I'm just trying to sort of create a picture in my head. Is there kind of like I guess like a culture kind of diameter, maybe how you describe it, for like particular team, and then what people would fit into that team based on their strengths and weaknesses, if that makes sense?
So we do have an assessment on cultural fit, which, it's very hard to actually objectively measure what culture is. And oftentimes when HR people talk about cultural fit, what they actually talk about is, status quo bias, for example, or affinity bias, when I just hire people that we already have in the team or who are very similar to me. And what we do in this assessment is that we assess how the team actually works with each other. So, for example, is there a lot of collaboration, or is there a lot of independence? And how does someone have to operate in order to be successful at this job? So that's the first step. And then you can also make the decision if you need, depending on the tasks that have to be fulfilled, if you need people who have very similar strengths, or if you need someone to, be the missing puzzle piece.
Sure. That makes sense. Thanks for clarifying. So, I guess, from your standpoint, obviously you're a big advocate of the shift towards a more strength-based approach in hiring, rather than kind of specifically just relying on CVs, which is obviously the kind of sort of norm at the moment. I guess, could you maybe just kind of elaborate on the benefits of that approach, especially in the context of, preparing for jobs that may not have a clear, I guess, educational path, maybe, if that makes sense to you?
Yeah, I think we see more of these coming out, right? It's the time for that now, where we don't have very set requirements and we don't really know what's going to happen in that job in the coming months, because things are developing so fast. Like we just saw that with ChatGPT, for example, we now have job offers where you need to be able to write prompts. So there's no way you could study that.
No, for sure.
And with diversity, you would have to, obviously, benefits, we all know them. We know the business case, more innovation, profitability, robustness to change. But I like to, when I talk about this, especially also point out that in the end, it's about treating people well. And we shouldn't have to need to talk about how profitable it is to do that, because companies also have a responsibility to be a good place to be at. And obviously that is a competitive advantage if people like their work and feel like they're safe, they can bring their whole self to work, etc. And retention and motivation and everything will rise. That's just a no-brainer. And
Definitely.
then also, yeah, in this climate where jobs change so quickly, and we maybe have to, we don't have enough applications, and we have to look outside of the box that we used to hire in. It can help us to actually see the strengths in those people, and to overcome also unconscious biases that we might have, unconscious stereotypes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I guess they're, effectively, you are, I guess, sort of talking about the importance of, social sustainability in hiring practices. How do you believe that, I guess, prioritizing strengths over, I guess, what we call traditional qualifications, can contribute to a more equitable and sustainable workforce?
Yeah, I would say that they should probably also go hand in hand depending on the job. So if, I don't know, if you need to operate a machine, there's no way we can tell you if that person is
Yeah.
capable of doing that. So depending on the job, you should probably look at both, but you definitely also have to look at, soft skills and everything, because what's going to happen if you hire that person and things change very quickly in that job, or your company situation changes dramatically, and you don't want to, you want to be prepared essentially, because it can be very costly to have someone on board who won't perform the way you need them to.
Mhm. No, understood. So I guess kind of sort of final question from me, really. We've talked a little bit about, unconscious bias, and addressing that is I guess a crucial aspect of DNI efforts. I wondered if you knew of any tools, or even just some kind of sort of practical steps that organizations can implement to essentially mitigate unconscious bias, because I've been in recruitment for a long time, and it is a thing, and it's kind of that moment when the penny drops and you realize actually it really is a thing, that then you can kind of sort of start to put things in place, to, as I say, mitigate that in the hiring process and promote a more inclusive workplace, really. So, yeah, I guess for the people listening and anybody interested, what are the kind of sort of practical steps you can take, or is there any potential tools that can help with that?
Yeah, I actually talked about this in my lecture yesterday, so it's still very fresh in my mind. Love the question. So obviously use Ivy, and then through the 3 steps, you will be reminded. So even if you don't use a tool like ours, just have a process in place that will remind you to check in with your judgments. That can be, for example, in structured interviews, never go in those by yourself. Have psychological safety with your colleagues so that you could call each other out on possible, stereotypes that you might have towards a person. And yeah, I mean, obviously, unconscious bias workshops help. Most of the time, you need to still remind yourself, because after the workshop, you feel like you want to change the world, and then you forget. And that is very, normal. We're human, and our brain just needs the comfort of just going back to its normal ways, to its natural ways. And something that I always say that's very easy as well is just change your surroundings. And if it's not easy to just change the workplace you're in, right? The team, if you see diversity, that's how your brain's going to adapt to it. You can always do that in your social media feeds, for example. Be open to different realities, different kinds of lifestyles and people that you don't really encounter, so that it won't feel as threatening, maybe also to invite them to a job interview.
Absolutely. Well, look, Alexandra, I really want to express my gratitude for sharing your expertise today on, I guess, really reshaping what the hiring landscape looks like. That shift towards strength-based hiring, coupled with a genuine commitment to diversity and inclusion, really has the potential to, I guess, not only transform individual career paths, but also, as we've discussed, a much more equitable and sustainable society. So I really appreciate your insights there. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Likewise, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. And for anybody listening, obviously, if you are interested in what Ivy's doing at the moment, please go check them out. And thank you for listening. Please do subscribe if you've enjoyed this conversation for more episodes of the People and Planet podcast. And as always, stay curious and keep innovating. Until next time.